All right, and welcome back to the Betting Pros podcast. Today, we take a turn down my favorite sport to wager on, NASCAR's. All three series head to Nashville. My name is Seth Woolcock. I'm the resident host of this particular program and also this company's motorsports betting expert. Today, I am joined by the spark plug of Dirty Mo Media. He's a NASCAR betting analyst for Dirty Mo Doe with Steve Letarte, also one of the producers of Dale Jr. Download, Charlotte's finest degenerate, Alex Timms, aka Tampa Timms. How we doing today, man?
What's up, Seth? Thanks for having me. I like that. I like the spark plug. I think I'm going to start calling myself that.
There you go. There you go. Sign it here. Tampa, thanks for your time today, man. We're heading to Nashville. I'm sure you spent a couple afternoons down there on Broadway before, my friend.
Oh yes, I have. I love Nashville, one of my favorite places. I'm sad I'm not going to the race this week.
Yeah.
But I'm sure all my friends there will have a great time.
This would probably be the perfect time for you to go down there because I think some people in the NASCAR community would recognize you. You'd probably get a couple of beers bought for you for those who have tailed you so far this year as well.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind that. We did a live show there for the Dale Jr. Download last year, and a couple of guys bought me a beer at Old Red. So I was looking forward maybe to repaying the favor this year, but it'll have to be maybe next year. I'll plan a trip myself.
Okay, just no throwing chairs off rooftops here, man. No throwing chairs.
Not my vibe.
Glad to hear it. Today on the program, guys, we're going to break down Nashville Superspeedway. We're also going to look at the outright market, the positional props, head-to-head matchups, and we'll talk a little Xfinity and Truck series at the end as well. But first, I want to remind everyone, if you're new to the channel, please subscribe to the YouTube channel here at Betting Pros and comment below this video because when you do, you can win a free upgrade to Betting Pros Premium. So whether you're looking for exclusive picks, top-rated player props, or custom analysis, the BP app and the BP Premium app is going to help you win more bets, plain and simple. It's also the easiest way to support myself and others here at Betting Pros. All right, Alex, let's get into it here. Nashville Superspeedway, and despite the name, it's actually just a 1.33 mile concrete intermediate track. It's kind of a hybrid between the Dovers and the high-speed 1.5 mile tracks. How do you feel in general when trying to handicap Nashville? Because it is a higher speed track and not a true intermediate. But we do have comp tracks like Dover, Vegas, Texas, Kansas, and Charlotte to look at, but really no true comp, just those kind of secondaries we're looking at.
Yeah, when it's tracks like Nashville, we've gone here twice before in the next gen at least. A concrete, like you said, not quite a mile and a half, but kind of a mile and a half. Like, it's such a unique track. It's tough to handicap these, but I think you do have to look at Dover because of Dover's banking, and the surface is very similar, obviously being concrete. And I think in the two races we've seen, the two drivers that have won there, Chastain and Chase Elliott, they have a lot of success at Dover as well. I don't think that's a coincidence. So I think Dover is probably the closest comp track you can kind of base that off of, but I don't like playing guys that are not good on mile and a halves either. So it's right in the middle. It's such a tough track to handicap.
It's still a driver's track, I would say, from a holistic standpoint. Like, we're going to be, at least for myself, I'm on a lot of juice already earlier this week. I'm on some of the heavy favorites. And last week, I was pretty light in my card just because I wasn't willing to lay 4-1 on Chris Bell just because of kind of what we've seen with his issues. But this week, like, I am very heavy on those guys, and I will have a couple long shots as I think you have to balance out the card, but I'm definitely on some of those heavy favorites that we see at a lot of these intermediate tracks, Alex.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's a group of like maybe 6 or 7 that I think you can kind of pick from, and just it could be any one of those guys as the weekend progresses. And I think if you're on any one of them, I wouldn't say that's a bad bet at all. I think the favorite's probably going to shine here this weekend for sure.
Absolutely. This race is going to be broken up into 3 stages. Lap 90, lap 185 are going to be those stage breaks, and then lap 300 will end this. This gets underway at 2:30 p.m. on Sunday. And let's look at the outright market here. And honestly, at first glance, I wasn't super happy with the outright market. Kyle Larson opened up a lot of places about plus 450. Ended up coming up a little bit higher on there. I think they're looking for a little action over there on FanDuel. Did you have any initial leans here in the outright market, whether that is someone you're looking to maybe cash out later in the race on someone longer odds, or whether you're just trying to kind of take the juice and back a heavy favorite here, whether that's Larson or a Bell?
Yeah, I think the books got it pretty correct. I mean, they made a lot of those guys under 10-1, like, those front 7. Any one of those 7 could win this thing. I mean,
yeah,
I think it's hard to not. I will say I think it's a Hendrick Motorsports type weekend. So it's hard to not want to back a Kyle Larson.
Yeah.
But I've been very, very strong on Chase Elliott all year. Plus 850 kind of stinks from the value we've been getting the past few weeks with him.
Yeah.
But man, like you said, he hasn't run outside the top 20 all year. I mean, this is a guy that like he's going to get another one. I mean, Texas I thought was kind of fluky because he didn't really dominate that race.
Right.
And snuck it out. I think he's due for a domination. And I don't know. I just feel like Hendrick at Nashville sounds correct. Chevy in general at Nashville sounds correct. So I wouldn't talk anyone off of Kyle Larson or Chase Elliott if you're looking at a favorite going into the weekend.
Yeah, I think I like the call out on Chase a lot. I backed him last week for a top 10 and drank a heavy glass of juice to do it and ended up getting burned there, but had a little bit of speed before getting that contact with Logano. Kyle Larson specifically is someone I am already on. I've already clicked the button. I went 2 units down on him. 5-1 is what I got on FanDuel. And talk about a guy who's probably about, a little fired up coming into this one, Tim's. Fastest car at Iowa, then told a spotter to shut the F up last week after getting, critiqued pretty heavily about how he lets Denny Hamlin race him. I think he's fired up. And when you look at Nashville, it's been a great track for him so far. In the pre-next gen era in 2021, he won that race, led 264 laps. Also came back here in the last 2 years, top 5, the last 2 races here as well. And looking at the ifancyrace.com next gen total speed rankings, he's 8th. So I really like what Kyle Larson could bring here. And he's been great at these styles of tracks, right? Almost won Dover, second there. Dominated at Vegas, won there. Fastest car at Texas before he wrecks, gives Chase kind of that win, wins Kansas. And we didn't see him at Charlotte, the closest, most recent comp, but Allgaier apparently had a freaking rocket as well. So I don't see why it's not wheels up here on Kyle Larson.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's like you said, every time we go to a 1.5-mile track, it's Kyle Larson. I feel like the last year and a half, it's been Kyle Larson. And like you said, I mean, they were talking Justin Allgaier's car up like it was going to win the race with whoever was driving it. So, I mean, it's hard for me to believe that he's not going to be a rocket ship. And plus, like, I know he won Sonoma, but like, I feel like if they don't win within like 2 or 3 races, they start getting antsy. Like, I kind of feel like that's that whole team's vibe. And that spotter and, Larson back and forth was a little bit weird, like for a team that has 3 wins and just won like 2 weeks ago. So I think they are fired up, Seth. I think you're right. It's hard to not have Kyle Larson on your card in some capacity.
Is there anyone else you like here in the outright market, whether it is a favorite, whether it's someone down the board? I will say it is such a weird time in NASCAR betting, Tim's, when you can get Kyle Busch 50-1, and I'm still like don't know if I can really go there, just how bad he's performed. But he was fast at Dover. He pulled that son of a gun too. So it's like
but it's been bad for the last couple of weeks. Like it's not just like a Kyle Busch 12th, 13th. Like okay, they're just trying to figure it out. It's been like crash, like 30th, like something mechanical's wrong. But man, you're right, 50-1. That is it's juicy, but I can't get myself to it. There's 2 guys though I have in that kind of long shot category. And it's one guy that if you've listened to Dirty Modo,
I bet I can guess it right now. Exactly. Alex Bowman, right?
100%. I've made so much money cashing out Alex Bowman win bets, and he's not sniffed a top 5 in forever, it feels like. Yeah. I mean, if you're going to give me 40-1 on the Ally car in the Ally 400, I'm sorry.
Wow, that's a good point.
I think I got to take it. And he was 60-1 last week, and I cashed him out for a very small profit. But I've done this weeks and weeks in a row, and he has just been a cash cow for me. So I'll put it on that. And my other guy, a little bit of a stretch, 28-1, Chris Buescher. The hunch is he had a top 5. I think he finished 5th last week at New Hampshire. I know the rain kind of got in there. But he's a streaky guy. He starts getting top 5s, wrapping off top 10s. He goes on a run. And we saw when he won, 2 races in a row last year. Like, I think I'm not going to let myself get beat on a Chris Buescher. I'm getting in on it early. I kind of like him as a long shot, see if he does well. His Nashville numbers aren't great, but I do trust the speed in that RFK camp.
I talked to Chris Buescher at Dover, and he told me he specifically loves concrete racetracks as a whole. So I like that play. I even saw him at 35-1 over at Bet Rivers right now. So awesome. A little bit better of a number there. And funny story about Alex Bowman at Dover. he was like charging, like that was the guy. Alex Bowman was coming from the back half the top 10, charging up, and was even going to potentially pass Larson in stage 2 there for the lead. Wasn't able to get it. We were up in the press box, and I looked at my co-host Elliot. I said, hey, we have an Alex Bowman outright. We should be cashing this out right now. Well, we're in a different state. They don't allow FanDuel there. So I'm getting all these like crazy alerts on my phone that like they're shutting down my FanDuel account because I'm not, so couldn't cash out on that one. But Alex Bowman, he was great at Dover, which is our closest comp. So you think he'd be good here again.
Yeah. And both these drivers, like that's where I'm leaning towards it. Their Dover success. It's actually shocking they haven't maybe had the success at Nashville that you anticipate.
Right.
But if they run really well at Dover, I just don't see how they can't figure it out here. Like they're too good there to not, find some speed here. So I think that's where I'm leaning for in the long shots a little bit more.
Okay. Looking kind of towards the top of the board, I did want to mention Denny Hamlin. About 6-1 in most places is what you can get him. Caesars actually has a boost, plus 650. I see FanDuel just raised themselves a little bit to plus 650 as well. I don't mind that price on a guy like Hamlin. Talk about another guy I think who's ready to get on the right side of things. Been a couple tough weeks for Hamlin. Couldn't really figure it out in the rain last week. Had some mechanical issues at Sonoma as well, and Iowa just wasn't his jam as well. And the only person better than Larson on these total speed rankings at these comp tracks is Denny Hamlin. He won Dover, had a shot at winning at Texas before he wrecked himself trying to go a little too hard against Chase there. Also had a top 5 at Kansas and Charlotte. This is just a guy who seems to perform well on this style of track. Second in the Nashville Next Gen total speed rankings, has led 195 laps the last 2 years here, 4 for 4 placing in the stages, and finishes of 3rd and 6th. So I don't know if he'll be able to quickly turn the switch and get himself the win, but I think at 6.5-1, I'm willing to take a little bit of a nibble there.
Yeah, I think he won Bristol, he won Dover, the 2 concrete tracks we've run. I mean, that's not a bad bet either. I think he won Bristol last year, so he's kind of the master on concrete. They used to call Carl Edwards Concrete Carl. I think it's Denny taking that crown now. So I agree with you, Seth. I think that's a good pick.
Yeah, I hate being the guy every week who's like, bet Larson, bet Hamlin, but like they cash tickets, man. They cash tickets, dude.
Listen, my strategy last year was the same of like, I'm not betting a favorite. I'm finding the 10-1s and ups. Lost so much. It's if they're gonna cash, they're cashing. There's a reason why Joe Gibbs Racing and Hendrick Motorsports won like 7 of the first 8 races.
Right.
Like it's because they're good teams. Like a win's a win. You'll grow your bankroll tremendously if you just stick to that strategy, I think.
Agreed. Let's move on into placement props here, Tim's. And is there anything else you're seeing out here about maybe a driver we have touched on, maybe a driver we haven't touched on? I think there's some Alex Bowman top 10 money out there, if that interests you.
I mean, it always interests me because I can't believe they're giving a Hendrick car plus money every week. I will say the top 10s this week, I don't love. There's a lot of guys that if I'm not a guy that necessarily likes to pay a price for a top 10, but like, agreed. I mean, what I'm looking on FanDuel, Ty Gibbs is minus 175. Wouldn't even touch anybody above that. Brad Keselowski minus 115 maybe, but I think he's kind of going down the other way a little bit here. There's some guys that I think way down that you can get some value on that could sneak in there. They're a sweat, trust me. You're don't look for them in the first couple stages to be there. But Daniel Suarez plus 270. This is Trackhouse's backyard. I don't think that he's going to show up with a dud. Yep, exactly. I mean, listen, if he's partying at Tootsie's a little bit too much, we might go for it. But, he's a stand-up guy. That's good. I think that's good value. And I'm going to give you a guy that I think it's going to blow you back in your seat here, Seth. Ryan Preece at 27-1 for a top 10. He's won here twice in a truck.
It's true.
He's got to figure it out. I mean, he's 16th place average finish here at Nashville. That's there. I'm looking for a guy that if something happens, he could maybe sneak in there. So it's just a couple guys with some value.
Yeah.
Am I putting the whole thing on it? No, maybe a quarter unit on Ryan Preece to get a top 10. But man, this is one of his better tracks.
It's now or never, right? It's now or never for Ryan Preece. Put up or shut up here. Some guys that I don't think we've touched on, and I'm sure we'll get touched on it in the greater NASCAR betting community this week. I thought Justin Haley top 10, 14-1. That looked pretty appealing to me. Just has run way too well to be 14-1 for a top 10. Seeing that at FanDuel really perked my ears a little bit, and especially he's like 5-6-1 other books, so 14-1 feels. He started fourth here last year. I remember because I played him everywhere in DFS, and then he went right to the back, and it kind of burned me. But any interest in him, or even like Riley Herbst, if you want to get more in bed with Rick Ware Racing? He's 3 for 3 here in the Xfinity Series, finishing in the top 10. Finish of second and third the last 2 years, 35-1 for a top 10. Do you mind any flyers here on any RWR cars, Alex?
I don't. I mean, Justin Haley, like you said, I think the way he's been running, the finishes might not have been there, but the way he's been running, he might have to be an automatic play as top 10 because he's right there every week. It seems like now he got one at Darlington the last couple of weeks. I think he's just had a mechanical issue or something happened with McDowell last week. But again, on pure speed, he's right there. So I don't mind Haley at all. Riley Herbst, I don't know. I don't know if he's up to speed with the Cup car yet. But again, if you're going to bet a guy from Xfinity numbers, I think he's not a bad pick. The other guy that's right there with Haley that I think is super underrated is Todd Gilliland. I think in his
Todd
last,
G.
He was another guy last week that was right there too. I think he's averaging like a 13th place finish over the past 5 races, in the top 10 of average finishes. So, I mean, Todd Gilliland at 11-1, I'm seeing on FanDuel. I think that's crazy. That's a well placed driver with now what seems like a tier 1 Ford program now. So
hasn't finished 17th or worse since going back to Dover where he spun out in that race. So yeah, I'm completely on board with a little Todd Gilliland love here. Last one I do want to throw out. It was one of those over unders. You have to kind of go in that backdoor Caesar speakeasy to find it. Over under 7.5 on Ross Chastain. I'm taking the under plus 110. This to me just felt like a great line considering most places he's minus money for a top 5. So instead I'll buy back two more spots on the grid. First and fifth in the next gen era, finishing here at Nashville. Even finished second in a Chip Ganassi car back in 2021 at Nashville as well. Hasn't been as great as those other drivers we've talked about earlier in the show that are heavily priced at the comps, but fourth at Las Vegas. Absolutely burned me at Texas. Almost got the win, almost cashed the outright. Byron spins him. He goes for a ride. So any love for Ross Chastain under 7.5, or do you think I did see him for a top 5 plus 150? He is 3 for 3 doing that. I just want to buy back a couple more spots because Ross hasn't been on it as much as I would like him. He's had a little bit of speed.
Yeah, I said this on the Dale Jr. Download on Tuesday. I think this is the type of track that, when Ross won last year, is kind of a similar season he's having. Some good finishes. He's last couple of races, he's picked it up, had a couple top 10s. He's been there, but not like the Ross that we saw maybe a couple of years ago that was up there leading laps and in contention. So the buyback of 2 positions and you're still getting plus money, I think that's a great way to go about it because I'd be sweating a top 5, but to have it on a top 7, I'd like that. I do like him to win too at plus 750, but like we said, he's not really leading and dominating races. So plus 750, I think that's pretty shitty of a line there. Not a lot of value there, but I do like the under 7.5 a lot at plus 110. That's a good bet.
Okay. All right. Let's go ahead. We're going to move into head-to-head matchups. But first, I want to remind everyone to download the BettingPros app. It's free on Android and iPhone stores here. You can use the Sportsbook Sync to automatically track your bets across all major sportsbooks in one spot. And honestly, guys, we're building a great NASCAR betting community over there right now, too. I'm sunk every single week, so you can see what I'm tailing. Sometimes I'm getting down on stuff on Saturdays, on Sundays, and I'm using the BettingPros app to let my followers know. So make sure you're checking that out. All right, and let's go ahead into head-to-head matchups. Not a ton of offerings this early in the week. Did you see anything that struck your attention that perked your ears up, Tim's?
Yeah, it's the guy that's in the news this week, Chase Briscoe. I mean, I have one that he's plus 145 over Josh Berry, and I just can't look at that and not salivate at the mouth to take that.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, Josh Berry's had a really good run here, but they're all his wheelhouse of short tracks or short track type tracks. So I think that's a little bit overpriced and a little bit in the line. And if you're talking about a guy who's going to be on cloud 9 after going to Joe Gibbs Racing now for next year, it's Chase Briscoe. So plus 145, man, that is juicy. I like that.
Yeah, it's always tough to bet teammates for myself, but when you're getting two, I would say comparable drivers, two drivers in similar equipment, just coming off good runs, taking the plus money and run does not seem like a bad strategy there. So I don't mind that. The only other one I saw out there that I haven't bet yet, but I am interested in is plus 130 Chris Buescher over Tyler Reddick. I get the Tyler Reddick love, man. I was sitting there with the 22-1 last week, hoping that they, doing the rain dance, hoping they didn't bring it back. But Tyler Reddick, especially on these tracks like Dover, started really hot in that race and kind of just faded back. I told you earlier, Buescher loves concrete. Would you be willing to get invested with him here?
Yeah, 100%. I think, like you said, Tyler Reddick. I think his Achilles heel as a race team is they start really hot and then they fade. They can't keep up with the car. So I think the books love Tyler Reddick a lot, especially in matchups. I definitely, he's one of the guys I look to fade just because they favor him so much. And a guy like Chris Buescher, I'm on him. I said I have a long shot bet on him. I definitely like the matchup there against Reddick.
Anything else you saw from a Cup Series perspective here in matchups or head-to-heads or groups, anything that you can throw out before we look at some Xfinity and Truck drivers?
I have one. It's a little bit of a lower price, but like we said, like cash a winning ticket. Winning team, Hendrick Motorsports plus 190. I really think it's their week. If another team like Trackhouse is going to come in, you'll have a Ross Chastain bet on my card too. So it's not a big deal. Yeah, so be it. But I think it's Hendrick, Larson, and Chase. Byron can get in there too. I like the 3-headed horse there.
Okay. The one thing I will say on that I did find is Hendrick is plus money against Joe Gibbs Racing head to head. I don't know if you like that is a gamble. I think you're gambling there because you're kind of betting against Denny Hamlin, which I personally don't do as a handicapper. But if you do want to get more in bed with Hendrick, that might be a way to do it. So love that shout out, man. Love that.
Awesome.
All right. And let's close things out by taking a quick look at the Xfinity and Truck Series. And man, oh man, did we get some loaded slates here. This is the first time I can remember like 5 Cup guys all coming down to the Xfinity Series, getting ready to go here. Looking at some of the notable entries here for the Xfinity race on Saturday. We have Ty Gibbs going to be in that number 19 Joe Gibbs Racing car. The number 20 is going to be John Hunter Nemechek. 26 of Sam Hunt Racing is Tyler Reddick, who we just mentioned. Noah Gragson going to be in that 30 once again, and then Ross Chastain in the 92. And hey, your boss's favorite guy in the world, Carson Kvapil, he's going to be in that 88 as well. So anything that I know we're early in the week, we don't have a ton of odds released yet, but any of these drivers or any of the mainstay guys who race in this series week after week that you have an eye on here as we approach the full spread of odds here later this week.
Yeah, I mean, for a regular, I'll go with first. I think Chandler Smith, he's 6-1 plus 600. It's not great, but I think he's going to be a rocket ship. He's always right there. It seems like I like his odds here. I will say Tyler Reddick, even though it's a Sam Hunt car, man, he took the Big Machine 48 car to victory lane a couple years ago. So I mean,
true,
he could definitely do it with this. 12-1 is a nice price for Tyler Reddick, who should light that track up in an Xfinity car for sure. So if Ty Gibbs is tough to beat, John Hunter Nemechek, they're tough to beat. I hate touching them because they can wreck each other going for it. That's my Xfinity handicap for you. I mean, don't pick those two guys because they're going to wreck each other going for it. If they beat me, they beat me. But I would say Chandler Smith and Tyler Reddick. I like the Toyotas in the Xfinity race for sure.
Well, the one bet I'm on for the Xfinity race already, I took Toyota to win minus 115. Again, that's one of those you have to go in the back door at Caesars and try to find that. I bet this last week and I got away with it by the skin of my teeth. Thank you, Christopher Bell. But minus 115 for heavy favorites like Gibbs, JHN, Chandler Smith, as you just alluded to, and then even Tyler Reddick and Sheldon Creed, who I don't think he can win. Apparently, the NASCAR gods don't either. But to get all those guys, like I was expecting to pay minus 140 and drink the juice on, but 115 feels like a hell of a deal here.
Yeah, great steal. That's actually a great price. I might have to go bet that after this. That's actually really good. And I have one more for you. It's my home pick, Carson Kvapil. I've been on him for a top 5. Like every race he's ran after the first race, and it's cashed. So I was on him last week for a top 5, and you're getting like plus 400, plus 500. I don't have the top 5 odds right now. I don't know if they're out yet. But you're probably going to get, maybe a little bit less, maybe plus 300 based off what his win odds are. But it's still really good for a top 5 for a guy who's yet to prove us wrong here.
Yeah, hell yeah, man. I was on him at Dover. He almost won that race. I know my co-host was on the outright as well. So always have some Carson Kvapil love here on the program. So I appreciate that shout out. I'm sure your boss will too. You might wake up tomorrow with, hey, got a little raise for you, Tim's.
Hey, I would love that. That'd be great.
Let's talk about this truck race here as well. It's going to be on Friday night. I'm excited for this one, man. Trucks returning after almost a month layoff. So good to see the series back in general. And man, do we have a stacked lineup here. We got Brennan Queen, known as Butterbean, going to be piloting that number 1 car. Another guy who stepped in a couple months ago in one race was a top 5 ticket. I know people cashed some big ones there. Clint Bowyer returns, getting out of retirement. He's going to man the number 7 car, or the number 7 truck there for Spire, which is exciting because we know that's a good truck. And then Frankie Muniz in the 22. Shout out Frankie. Always got some love for him. He's had a tough season, man, in the Xfinity series. He hasn't made a lot of races because he had some bad equipment. But any love for Frankie, Brennan Queen, Bowyer, any of the regular guys? I know we don't have any odds. Probably won't get him till Thursday or so at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I love Frankie. I hope he does well. I think it's his first truck start. So, I mean, we'll see if that's more of his speed, but I don't really have faith in that truck that he's in, but we'll see. I actually do kind of like Bowyer. I don't know why I shouldn't play him. I don't know what the odds are.
Yeah.
He'll probably be up there, but that Spire 7's always fast, who's ever in it. So, I mean, I like that a lot. Brennan Queen, like I think the short tracks where you'll see him do really well. Like Wilkesboro was perfect fit for him. In Nashville, I don't know. I don't even know if he's ran a track as big as this. I think it's a great test for him. I hope he does well because he's a hell of a racer. But he might be a guy to maybe go against. I think he'll be priced pretty off his North Wilkesboro numbers.
Yeah.
There's a price in my head. If he's anything above maybe 20 or lower than 28 to 1, don't touch him. If he's above it, maybe you sprinkle something on him. But he's the guy I'd watch because if he's really good in practice, you'll see that line move.
Okay. All right. I like that. I would have loved if we could have got like a Ryan Preece in this race. He's 2 for 2 in the Truck Series winning. Todd Gilliland's had some good runs here. Like Zane Smith, even he's 3 for 3 for top 5s here. So I was like just hoping and praying because hit him really big at Kansas for a nice top 5. I just laid the hammer on it. So was hoping we could get him. One of the regular guys I think we should keep an eye on. He's good at this style of track. He showed us time and time again is Nick Sanchez. Also started on the pole last year in this race, finished in 3rd. So I like Nick Sanchez a little bit here. I'm waiting to kind of see what his top 5 number is. But usually, like especially with a guy like Bowyer in this race, you might get him at plus 180, plus 160. And for Sanchez, with how good he's been running, I don't know what the brake's going to do. That's going to maybe throw a couple things, a couple wrenches in everything, Alex. But hopefully Nick Sanchez and some of these other regulars have something to say to Bowyer and the other guys coming down.
Yeah. I think Sanchez is always like a good value play. I feel like because Majeski, Eckes, Heim, like they get all the love. You usually get Sanchez around like 10 to 1, 11 to 1. And I think he's a 1.5 mile killer. So, I mean, he's always there. So that's not a bad bet either. Raja could also, pull it out too. He's always a guy
his style.
Gets crazy odds on that. So there's a couple regulars you can probably find some value on.
Yeah, Raja won earlier this year at Vegas, one of our comp tracks. So definitely something to keep in mind. Alex, thank you so much for taking some time out of your Wednesday here to chat with me and break this race down from a handicapping perspective with our audience, man. How can we best support you throughout the remainder of the 2024 NASCAR season and beyond?
You will follow me on Twitter at Tampa Tims. You can listen to me on Dirty Mo Doe. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're trying to grow that. That's where I'll have all my plays and the full episodes of the podcast. But thanks, Seth. It was fun. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Always a pleasure to cut it up with you. Make sure you guys are opening up a new tab here on YouTube, going over to Dirty Mo Doe and subscribing there. As for me, easiest way to support us here at BettingPros, subscribe to the channel, download the app. You can also find my full betting card released on the site every single week here in the NASCAR section. And then you can find my other NASCAR program, my other NASCAR gambling program, The Back Road, live every Thursday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time on In Between Media's YouTube channel. Guys, thank you so much. Good luck this weekend in Nashville. From Alex, I'm Seth. We'll talk to you guys next time. Until then, keep it in between. Thank you.